For a long time, I found chord melody playing really elusive. How does it work? What's going on? Where do all those chords come from? What do I need to understand to be able to do this for myself? Now, I used to learn other people's arrangements, but I often had no idea why the chords worked, why they were picking those chords or those notes to create the arrangement. And weirdly, it seems like part of the guitar community in general, they sometimes treat understanding things as a bad thing, as if it's going to get in the way of creativity. But for me, understanding leads to deeper creativity. So in this lesson, I want to show you how to start creating your own simply chord arrangements using Moon River as our example. We're going to look at the opening 8 bars of Moon River. This melody is our foundation. And if you want to build chord melody arrangements, the melody just needs to be really familiar, ideally memorized. The next step is something experienced jazz guitar players, musicians do on the fly, and that is they understand how each melody note relates to the chord underneath it as an interval. That understanding then enables us to place chords or notes underneath the melody to harmonize it. So we take our opening 8-bar melody and we ask, what are the intervals between the melody notes and the chords? If this is unfamiliar territory for you, don't worry, this is where solid scale and arpeggio knowledge really pays off. It might be a bit of an unpopular thing to see on YouTube, but you do need to know your scales. That's how you recognize the intervals and build chords that support the melody. For example, if the chord is C and the melody note is G, well, G is the 5th of C, so we need a C chord with a G on top. And that melody note could also be harmonized by any other chord that contains a G. Things like G major and an E minor would be good places to start. One of the simplest ways to harmonize a melody is to just play one note underneath it. And when I do this, usually I'm picking either the root or the third, depending on what sounds best. And on a tune like Moon River, this can sound really beautiful. Notice that I don't harmonise every note, and you don't have to either. Sometimes space is more musical and easier. If you want to take it a little further, 2-note harmonies with thirds or sixths are a great option also. They're sweet, lyrical intervals that work especially well in this style. To do this, you'll need to get comfortable playing your scales in thirds and sixths. Now, these sounds are everywhere in popular music and jazz, so your ears will already be familiar with them if you don't necessarily understand what thirds and sixths are. Step 5, try other intervals. Now, word of caution here, you can try harmonizing a melody in seconds or fourths or sevenths, but be prepared for it to sound a little out there. So before we get into that kind of weird stuff, let's look at triads. Triads are a natural next step. They're strong, familiar, and beautiful sounding. So if your melody note is a G and the chord is C, you find a C triad with a G on the top. Easy. But that C triad will be the most obvious option. It will sound strong, it will sound fine, but you don't have to use it. You could use any triad that includes a G. Now, we're in the key of C here. that would give us the other chords E minor and G major as other options for harmonizing that note. Now this is where the harmony will get a bit more interesting, a bit richer with 4-note voicings. Now 4-note voicings that are commonly used in jazz chord melody are typically drop 2 and drop 3 shapes. Drop 2 are where you have a chord voiced on 4 adjacent strings, and drop 3 is where you get the bass note, then you skip a string and then have the remaining 3 notes on adjacent strings. To be able to do this kind of playing, you really have to learn your chord inversions. And just a fair warning here, it's a big undertaking, but it opens so many doors. It's so worth practicing. Now in this next example, I mainly use 4-note chords with a few 3-note voicings. They aren't necessarily triads, they're shell voicings or 3-note voicings of 4-note voicings, if that makes sense, where I've omitted one of the notes of a 4-note chord. And again, I don't harmonize every note because it can get busy. Be selective. Finally, a taste of something more advanced where we reharmonize the chords. Here I replace some of the original chords with others that still support the melody. This might include substituting for related chords, inserting things like diminished chords, and playing with tension and resolution. Now this could be a whole separate lesson, but I hope that example gives you a flavour of how you can change things up. And it started simply because the top melody note was a G, so I found a different chord with a G on the top. I got a B flat 13 with the G, the 13th on the top, and used that instead of using, say, C major or G major or E minor. So out of those different iterations of playing chord melody style, what was your favourite version? Let me know in the comments. I actually really like the 2-note one for this kind of tune. I think it works well. Now you can download the transcription for this lesson on the lowest tier of my Patreon page, which also gets you access to my other chord melody arrangements and a full arrangement of Moon River in 2-note harmony. If you'd like some chord melody arrangements to have a go at, then by joining the supporter tier, the lowest tier on my Patreon page, you get access to all of my chord melodies. I'll put them on the screen for you. Link in the description. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments below. Don't forget, jazz guitar lessons here every Monday. Until next time, you take care.